Ed Marsh here with some reflections on buyer indecision and complex sales deals lost to no decision. Most companies lose about 70% of their deals, about 30% to a competitor, and about 40% to no decision. Deals just wither and die. Now, some of these never belonged in the pipeline to begin with. They weren't real deals. Someone was doing some research and a sales rep with happy ears heard that as a viable project. But there are a lot that were legitimate deals, situations where a prospect recognized they had a problem that needed to be fixed. They committed resources to quantifying the problem and researching options. But then things changed. The JOLT effect tells us that uncertainty is at play here. Behavioral economics teaches that the pain of making a mistake outweighs the thrill of a good decision. In other words, buyers start to contemplate the likelihood that a decision may make them look silly. And that gradually becomes a bigger concern than the implications of letting the original problem fester. That's an important insight that Matt Dixon and Ted Mckenna codified in the JOLT effect. But in my experience, it stopped short. Dixon and Mckenna focus on buyer concerns that the vendor may fail to deliver the expected outcome. They may not fully understand the problem, they may gloss over limitations, or they may not stick with a difficult install. It's natural to frame the buyer's analysis in the context of a vendor's ability to deliver as promised, smoothly and efficiently. But there's another insidious set of doubts that are probably not openly acknowledged and possibly even opaque to the decision maker. That's the concern that they, and particularly their team, will fail to get the work done that's required on their end for a project to be successful. This goes beyond just workload. Sure, workload is a reality. Endless email, back-to-back Zoom meetings, incessant reports and decks. It's hard, but that's not all. There's a decline in accountability in the workplace. Between remote work and the rise of knowledge work, which is inherently difficult to quantify, it's harder for managers to push too hard or specifically against assertions of not enough time. Further, culturally, it's more common, perhaps even accepted, and in some cases celebrated as resistance for employees who disagree to passive-aggressively push back. Managers know this, and they calibrate their expectations accordingly. They're hesitant to commit to a project when success hinges on their team's ability to complete what's necessary on their end. But it's a rare manager who will step up and say, I'm not willing to place this order even though we need to and it makes sense financially, because I'm just not sure my team will do their part. Instead, most will cite other reasons and maybe even convince themselves of them. So what's the solution? Your sales process needs to be clear-eyed about the work that's involved and the change management considerations. Your sales enablement content must address these concerns proactively, and your proposals should include A, B, and C options, which provide accelerated support and reduce dependence on the buyer's team. I recognize that this is a dark and cynical view, but it's also realistic. I've seen this crater many deals, and as buying teams grow, mid-level managers will harbor the same concern about their team, but will hesitate to present it directly to their peers on the buying team. But this is the reality. Buyer indecision often stems from the buyer's nagging concern that their team will resist doing the work required. This will hamper a project even if the vendor does their part perfectly. And then in the end, it still looks like the decision maker made a mistake. So here's the point. It's not you, it's them. But it's still your sales problem to solve.